Hello bronies, it's me, it's Clayton. And since I've basically reviewed every single episode of My Little Pony's 6th season, I decided I was going to make a list for my favorite episodes of the season. So, I'll make a list this week and a list next week regarding my favorite and least favorite episodes of the show. Now keep in mind this is all opinion based, so if you disagree with me, that's great. Just don't take my head off for having an opinion that's different than yours. I already have enough to deal with when it comes to the Korra haters. Okay, are we good? We're good. Okay, let's begin. Number 10, Buckball Season. To start off this list, we have an episode that's basically pretty straightforward and pretty simplistic, but also very, very enjoyable. I like this episode mainly because the idea of Buckball really reminds me of pro bending from Legend of Korra, and it adds a nice, unique sport to the world, giving it a pretty fun display. Also, the conflict with Applejack and Rainbow Dash trying to psych up Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie and having that backfire really does relate to me in real life when it came to my Little League days. It is true that the game at the end really could have gone longer, and it spends a lot of time in the preparation for the game, but there isn't a lot of payoff, but the episode's enjoyable enough as is. Besides, what other episode can I say existed where Snails was an enjoyable character? That's gotta count for something. Number 9, The Times They Are a Changeling. This is probably an episode that could have been higher on the list if it wasn't for the rushed fashion of how Spike was able to convince the other ponies that Thorax was to be trusted, but still, for presenting an episode that shows that not all changelings are power-hungry monsters, which was exemplified by the season finale, I'll get to that later, it certainly is an episode that's worth recommending, especially since Thorax himself, voiced by Kyle Rideout, is a very interesting character, and the whole message about prejudice that relates in a lot of way to race relations right now is a very timely and very thought-provoking message. So yeah, I hope I see more Thorax in the show just because of his performance in this episode as well as his performance in the finale. Number 8, Spice Up Your Life. If you know me, you know that I sometimes have a problem with critics, especially those that think they're above everyone else. Well, this episode plays around with that idea, as Rarity and Pinkie Pie help out a family with their Indian restaurant that's struggling to make ends meet. This episode not only has great commentary on how critics can sometimes get overzealous, but it also shows that you should just think for yourself and not rely on what a critic has to say, whether you're talking about a movie, a TV show, or even a piece of food. Everyone is different, and therefore everyone should speak for themselves. Not to mention, it's gonna work as still as catchy as hell. Number 7, Flutter Brudder. For anyone who's had to deal with a freeloader, this episode's definitely one for you. Zephyr Breeze may be a bit of an annoying character, but he is used effectively for a message regarding college dropouts and, in general, freeloaders who just sit around all day with no job and no life. It has a similar problem to The Times They Are a Changeling, where the song finishes the conflict a bit too neatly, but I get more or less why that is. You don't want to end this entire episode with a guy being a hopeless wreck, and it's a children's television series. You gotta have a happy ending when it comes to the moral of these episodes. It's something I've expected for a while. Besides, when it comes to the comedy, the dialogue, and especially the interactions between Fluttershy and her brother, this one's definitely a top-tier episode. Number 6, Gauntlet of Fire. Talk about another Spike episode that shows why he's really stood out this season. Spike having to take on the Gauntlet of Fire and helping out a princess named Ember really ended up being an engaging story, as it not only had a great interactions between Spike and Ember, which finally showed us a female dragon for once, but it also gave that no good idiotic character Garble some much needed comeuppance in so many ways. I still hate the guy, but hey, at least the guy got his just desserts. And speaking of which, why wasn't Ember included in the finale? I still love the finale, but considering that Spike befriended Ember and she's now ruling over the dragons, he could have asked for her help. I guess they had so many characters to work with, they just couldn't do it at that point. But anyways, great episode. Number 5, The Fault in Our Cutie Marks. If you want a Cutie Mark Crusader episode that's totally full of life and totally full of enthusiasm, this one's definitely for you. Seeing Gabby the Griffin with her incredible energy and tons of enthusiasm always brings a smile to my face, and at no point does she ever get annoying. It's quite an accomplishment. Usually I find fangirl or fanboy characters a bit overly enthusiastic, but hey, I think of Gabby in a similar way to I find Bolin from The Legend of Korra. They're both very enthusiastic, but at the same time, they have enough likable traits and enough humorous moments that don't involve their fanboy or fangirling, as well as heartwarming moments, that helps me realize they're not just one-note characters. Add to that with the whole idea of other races other than ponies wanting to have cutie marks and wanting to have their purpose in life revealed to them, and you have one for the season. Number 4, Viva Las Vegas, and I will not sing Elvis, don't worry. Out of all the episodes in the season, it's not the most humorous episode, but it's probably the most clever in its references and the most well-written when it comes to its writing. The mystery plot of Viva Las Vegas really caught me by surprise on at least 3 different occasions. The use of the Flim Flam brothers was surprisingly not used just for the sake of fan service, but was used in a way to forward a very interesting story. And seeing all these references to things in Las Vegas really did shock me. Whether it's the design of the hotels or the fact that Gladmane's basically an Elvis XP. If you have any appreciation for Las Vegas, you'll definitely enjoy this episode. Number 3, To Where and Back Again. Yes, it's flawed. Yes, Starlight is the main focus of the episode, but I don't care. This episode blew me away. Seeing Starlight combine a team of herself, Trixie, Thorax, and Discord to save the main 6, the princesses, and several other ponies really made this episode a highlight for me, even though Starlight had very limited screen time this season, this episode showed how much growth she's gone through and how, in many ways, I don't hate her as a character anymore. Add that with excellent voice performances across the board, especially some very humorous dialogue from Discord, some heartwarming moments for Kyle Rideout's Thorax and his struggle against Queen Chrysalis, and of course the great and powerful Trixie just being the great and powerful Trixie, and you've definitely got a finale that's unlike all the others, and it definitely stands out a lot more because of that. Number 2, Top Bolt. This episode may have come out at the end of the season, but trust me, this one's definitely one that's up there. Rainbow Dash and Twilight helping out 2 ponies with getting into the Wonderbolt Academy really was an interesting premise that was pulled off spectacularly, with tons of great humor involving Rainbow Dash and Twilight's contrasting personalities, as well as a good message of how sometimes helping someone can hinder their progress when you don't really mean to. It's a message that wasn't tackled very well. No, that wasn't tackled that often, is what I mean. And when it comes to so many TV shows that take on similar messages to the point where some messages have been done to death, it's nice to see a show like My Little Pony Friendship is Magic take on messages that not a lot of people do think about. And honestly, who can ask for more than that? Well, I can ask for one episode that does more than that. Number 1, Stranger Than Fan Fiction. When it comes to an episode that talks about the fandom of a series, this one's definitely one that has the best commentary. Rainbow Dash's constant arguments with Quibble Pants really makes me realize that fan bases can rip each other apart, and where people used to share their opinions, sometimes nowadays they just force them down your throat, like Quibble does to Rainbow Dash. But finding a way to agree to disagree really was the best way to handle the conflict in this episode, considering that I really have a hard time dealing with some haters of TV shows that I like Legend of Korra, to the point where I was wondering how I'd ever deal with them. Stranger Than Fan Fiction showed me, and I guess a lot of other people, that agreeing to disagree and just enjoying whatever you want to enjoy is definitely the way to go. So if you like this show, like it. If you don't like it, don't like it. Just let my opinion be mine, and I'm not going to be fooled or threatened or intimidated by anyone into saying what I don't want to say or feeling what I don't want to feel. If you add to that with some great humor, some excellent references to Daring Do, aka Indiana Jones, a good commentary on fan bases and the Brony fandom in general, and not to mention an entertaining performance as Patton Oswalt plays Quibblepants, and you have one that's not only the best of the season, but possibly one of the best of the whole series. Thank you for listening, and tune in next week as I count down the top 10 worst episodes of the season. See you later.